Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Wayne, the founder of One Sober to Another. In today's video, we're talking about your moral compass. And is it busted? You ready to go? Let's get it. Okay, I got my handy dandy trusty microphone and hopefully it's coming through loud and clear. Today's video is about your moral compass, specifically mine, and how it was broken in my life and what I did in order to fix it. Some of the things that I mentioned in this video might apply to you, and it might help you notice that your moral compass is bending towards the wrong and the evil portion of your moral compass. So I've broken my moral compass down into 4 sections: good, right, wrong, and evil. Each one plays a very specific portion in my active alcoholism and how it played a role in my life. And when my moral compass was skewed and leaning more towards that wrong and that evil, my life took a turn for the worst, and I wasn't able to just break free from it. I had to do certain things in my life in order to make a change and lean back towards the good and the right. Does this sound like something you're interested in? Does this sound like something in your life? Is your moral compass busted? If you think it is and you think it can't be fixed, drop your comments below, because somebody watching, as I always say, is going to get something from this video. So yesterday I shot this video, and I'm going to get to the point, folks. I promise you. Yesterday I shot this video and I wasn't happy with the content because I felt that I was kind of hiding some of the meat and potatoes that might be valuable for y'all. When my moral compass started to take a turn for the worse, now that began way early in my life, in my childhood, as a matter of fact, because what I saw on a day-to-day basis and the behaviors that I learned that were acceptable were more in the negative portion of my moral compass. And those were the things that I was supposed to assume is the way that my life is supposed to be lived. I'm talking about violence. I'm talking about verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, a whole host of events that are behaviors that I was learning in an early age that would stay with me throughout my life. And I literally had to forcefully bend my needle towards the good and the right every single day, because what I had learned growing up in my childhood was those negative behaviors, those wrongs and those evils, they were acceptable. I'm going to give you a couple examples, and please hold your judgment, because not everybody is perfect. And for me, my environment, and it's not blaming, but it is a big factor. My environment played a huge part of how my behaviors were developed. And I talk about behaviors, folks, I'm getting to it, I promise. I talk about behaviors because our behaviors, my behaviors, led me deeper into the bottle, and it kept me drunk for 23 years. And I've had to do a lot of soul searching and a lot of rebuilding of the behaviors that I know in order to bring my moral compass back to good and right. So example one is physical violence. I learned at an early age that physical violence will produce results one way or another. Now, is this something I'm encouraging people to do? Absolutely not. But physical violence was a part of my childhood, and physical violence was a part of the way that I grew up. My brothers and sisters, we used to fight a lot, and we used to physically, all out fist to cuffs, or however you want to say it, even weapons. We used to fight a lot, and we used to hurt each other very badly. That turned into, and folks, here's where the judgment comes into play, or please don't judge, because I'm not proud of these things. I just think that you should know them, because as I struggled to make my moral compass go true north and more towards the good and the right, these factors played a role. Now, every single relationship I had with women turned into some sort of either emotional abuse or, unfortunately, physical abuse. Does this make me a bad person? Yeah, I thought so. And I thought that there's no way that I could get up from under this, and there's no way that I could say I'm sorry, so to speak, and make amends to these young women ever. Because, I harmed them. And once a person harms another person, there's no real taking it back, and there's no quick I'm sorry about it. You have to rebuild a whole lot of trust, and you have to rebuild that relationship completely from scratch. But in the back of that person's mind, now this is where my moral compass was deep into that wrong and to that evil, because I applied punishment, forms of punishment. And this is sinister in a way that my brain thought it was acceptable behavior because of the environment that I grew up in. Again, not an excuse, just the truth. Almost every single relationship, I ended up harming the women that I was with. And I think the reason that is, and this took a lot of therapy, is that I have like huge insecurities about who I am and my capabilities. And I have a huge fear of rejection, which I've talked about on this channel before. Once I got rejected, or once I felt dismissed, or once somebody said they didn't want to be with me, I turned into that monster that is portrayed in a lot of movies, to where I just went into a rage, and I either, come on now, you can judge me, but please don't cast that stone if you live in a glass house. You know what I mean? I would turn into this pit of rage, and I would turn into someone who would cut somebody deep. I mean, real deep with the words that I used. And that affected that person to a point where they were like, nope, I'm out. Once that occurred, I just went into a blackout back in the past. And again, not an excuse. Just my moral compass was on a twisted end, leading towards that wrong and that evil. I'm not going to go any more into that because it's not necessary. You get the point, I think. Guys, when your moral compass is on a downside, when it's leaning in the wrong and the evil, there's a lot of purposeful action you have to take, or I had to take, in order to put it back in the good and the right. The next example I'm going to give is and for me, it always goes back to women, and I don't know why, but it does. It does. So for me, I ended up going to brothels, and I ended up sleeping with a lot of random women when I was drunk, and I didn't really take into account any of their feelings, and I didn't take into account any of the feelings of the people that I was actually with versus the ones that I was out there sleeping with. That goes back to that wrong. I knew in my heart of hearts that I was doing wrong, but my alcoholic brain was fueling these egotistical thoughts that, you know what, if this person doesn't want to give me what I want, I'm simply going to go to the next one, and I'm going to get it from them. And I can't exclaim this enough. Don't apply judgment if you live in a glass house. Don't throw stones if you've done the same thing. And I'm not making any excuse for these. These are real. And when your moral compass is bent, and alcohol and drugs will play a huge role in giving you the excuse to live in the wrong and the evil of your moral compass. And once you get comfortable there, or when I got comfortable there, that became a normal. That became the way that I live. And I would say things to myself like, you're DB. You could do whatever you want. Or, you know what? All these women want you, and you might as well just take what you can get. Holy moly. These were thoughts that I thought was normal. And daggone it, they're not. It's just when your moral compass is in that wrong and that evil, it's so extremely hard to bring it back to the good and the right. Now, there are so many more examples that I can give you, and so many more stories that I could share with you, but that's going to take up all of your day, folks. Now, living this way for 23 years and thinking it's normal, I had to do certain things in my life in order to bring my moral compass back to the good and the right. The way I started doing that is when I got sober, folks. When I got sober, and a lot of folks don't like to hear that, but I'm going to say it anyway. When I got sober, I've been living sober for 7 years. Well, about 7.5 now. When I got sober, I had to reshape the way that I thought about things and reshape the way that I saw people and reshape that I ingested feelings and emotions in order to give them back in a proper manner. Today, when I get angry, when someone makes me feel like I'm dismissed or rejected, I don't immediately respond to that. I take it in and I think about it and I say, is this really me? Is this something I did, or is this my problem? And the answer is normally no. And in that case, folks, I can dismiss it altogether. And I've said this before too. And I can lean the needle of my moral compass back to the good and the right. I can apply love and I can apply acceptance and I can show honor and integrity versus punishment and hate and living in violence and applying all kinds of harms to people. I can turn that coin and I can live in the good and the right. And I can say, you know what? That's you. That's not me. I can't do anything about the way you feel, and I can't do anything about the thoughts that you have, but I can control the ones that I have, and I can take those thoughts and the emotions that are applied with them and put it out back into the universe in a positive manner. I've said that too before on this channel. Weird how it all comes full circle. How does that play a role in my sobriety? If I keep my needle generally within the good and the right of my moral compass, I'm able to live true to myself and I'm able to live with someone else and be able to be a partner with them instead of being an adversary. If that makes sense for you, drop a comment below. I feel like I'm kind of running off on a tangent a little bit and I still owe you a little meat and potatoes. However, that would take up all of your day. So that's going to be part of a live segment that I'm doing from Prague this weekend. And you know what? That's going to be an amazing trip. If you've gotten any value or something that I've said resonated with you, consider subscribing to the channel. And all of you out there who have subscribed so far, I want to thank you personally because this is not for me. Yeah, it keeps me sober. But more importantly, everything I do on this channel is for all of you. And I always feel that if I have something that I feel can benefit someone else, it is not right for me to hold that in. And living in the good and the right of my moral compass, I think delivering things to you that can be helpful in your life or in your recovery or in your attempt to be sober, then I'm doing the right thing. And that's living in the good and the right of my moral compass. Folks, life is a garden, dig it. And I hope that you have a good day. And again, I appreciate all of you out there. Much love, and I hope you have a good day. See you in the next one, probably from Prague. Have a great day.